Dinghai Fusheng Records. Chapter 65. Divining Fate. Chen Xing quickly said, "It is our duty to eliminate Fu Jian's drought fiend army. It has nothing to do with the Wuhan conflict, it's something that we must do." No, Pu Yang hurriedly spoke. Whether this drought fiend army is really that powerful, nobody is quite sure yet. Chen Xianchen was invited to come here because His Majesty wants to ask about Chen Xing. Xiang Shu frowned. Pu Yang's expression turned very awkward. Sima Yao made up his mind and said, "Let Zhen finish it." Chen Xianchen, Zhen wishes to consult with you. Since you are all exorcists, is there a way to take Fu Jian's head from 1,000 li away? Everyone. Sima Yao earnestly answered, "Zhen can provide everyone with Bodhimandas to perform magic. Zhen has heard that exorcists can move unobstructed through both the sky and on land, and are omnipotent. Since it's like that, use a flying sword, activate it from Jiankong, and shoot it towards Chang'an, then bring back Fu Jian's head and use it to establish prestige. This way, the army will collapse by itself." Chen Xing, "Your Majesty, you..." Xiang Shu took a deep breath, he was likely trying not to laugh. After analyzing things for such a long time, in the end, this illogical suggestion was what had come out. It was really breaking the cognition of everybody on the scene. Sima Yao said, "Pu Yang Xianchen has also told Zhen that 1,000 years ago, the exorcists..." Chen Xing said in sincerity, "Your Majesty, it really can't be done. This is truly impossible." "Oh," Sima Yao got his confirmation, and he answered with a hint of disappointment. After a long moment of awkwardness, Pu Yang consoled, "This subject has said it before, Your Majesty, so you just think of some other way." Sima Yao still wasn't willing to give up. "Well, Zhen doesn't need a human head then. Does Chen Xianchen have any spells that can make Fu Jian die all of the sudden in one night?" "Not at the moment," Chen Xing said. "Think, Your Majesty, if there were such a spell, wouldn't the world turn upside down?" Sima Yao said, "A few days ago, a great master came from Jiaozhou and told Zhen that as long as Zhen's heart was sincere and prayed to heaven every day, heaven would make Fu Jian die a sudden death." Chen Xing said, "Oh yes, actually, I think Fu Jian might also have some experts by his side. If he wishes to use magic on Your Majesty, well, that will save him some trouble. If he knew it would work, why didn't he do it? But Your Majesty, you're still alive and well right now, no?" Sima Yao sighed and said, "Zhen has almost gone bald out of worry." Chen Xianchen. "For the past 3 months, Zhen has been waiting patiently for you to awaken exactly because of this matter. Yet in the end, you're saying it's impossible." Saying so, Sima Yao smoothed out his own hair, letting Chen Xing and the others see his hairline before speaking again. "See? Zhen can't sleep at peace every night and can't eat during the day." Chen Xing said, "Actually, I really need to write out a calming concoction for Your Majesty to drink." Sima Yao's face was grim as he said, "Zhen wants to ask once again, if you can't make Fu Jian die a sudden death, can you make Zhen's hair grow back?" Chen Xing, "I can't, but I can write a prescription for Your Majesty. But I suggest Your Majesty also don't eat too much fleece flower root, it's toxic." Sima Yao. "That's it." Chen Xing had finally said what Sima Yao had been thinking in his heart. "I can't do anything except to wait for it to grow, what?" Sima Yao had to drop the subject. Chen Xing said, "The situation in Luoyang." Sima Yao said, "Chen Xianchen, there's no need to worry about Luoyang. The so-called drought fiend army, whether they're good or bad for us, it's still difficult to tell. Zhen and the court officials have seen those living dead, and they don't listen to orders at all. If Fu Jian wants to bring those living dead into his army, Zhen feels that it would instead cause trouble for him first." Chen Xing frowned. "How could you say that? Your Majesty, in case the drought fiend army goes out of control, all living people will be dead. We've spared no effort controlling this drought fiend chaos. If the problem spreads, and Fujian somehow manages to control those living dead and put them into his ranks, do you think the Jin army would be able to withstand them? Sima Yao said, Chen Zianshen, Zhen knows that no matter if they're Hu or Han, they're all people in your eyes, and there's no difference between them. But, you also have to understand Zhen. The Han people of Jiangnan are all Zhen's people. Zhen must protect them from being trampled on by the Qin. Chen Xing said, so, your majesty is unwilling to help us sneak into Luoyang, am I right? Chen Xing's goal in meeting with the emperor this time was to persuade Sima Yao to send a delegation and have them hide among the group, then go to Luoyang and investigate the matter of Dinghai Pearl. Unexpectedly, there was such big news. Looking at the result of discussion with Sima Yao and his ministers, it was clear that they would balk at the enemy's plans first, then prevent the junction of the enemy's forces, and only engage the mat war in the end. Don't fight unless you have to. He also could understand this point. After all, Jiangnan was still recovering from the event of the disaster of Yangjia 100 years ago. The common people were unwilling to start a war and had a tacit agreement about the ways the government was split into the north and the south factions. So, in Sima Yao's plan, the most important things were, drive a wedge between the Murongs and Fujian, sow discord inside the Qin court, and split up the five Hus from within, making them fight one another so they didn't have time to march south. If possible, maybe they could even let the scouts release the drought fiends in order to cause more chaos for the Qin. Maybe Sima Yao had tried sending his spies to open the military camp before, but it failed. Sima Yao said, it's hard to say, Chen Zianshen. Chen Xing said, Your Majesty, look at the 4 characters at the top of your head. Sima Yao smiled but didn't look up. Xiang Shu followed Chen Xing's gaze and saw that 4 characters written by Wang Dao were hung above the nymph of the Luo River's painting. The country still remains. Wang Dao was an official who had done a great service during the Southern Crossing and had also been the head of the prominent family that gave birth to the phrase the Wangs and the Mas share the world after the disaster of Yangjia. Though he had been dead for 42 years, his writings still served as a reminder to the Sima family. Every year, every month, every day, Sima Yao said, there's always someone who reminds Zhen of it. There's no need for Chen Zianshen to spend another try. The people of the Central Plains, no matter Hu or Han, are also your people, Chen Xing said. If the old hatred between the 2 countries makes your majesty sit back and watch innocents die in this drought fiend chaos, on the day your majesty restores the homeland, wouldn't your majesty be restless upon thinking of all the departed souls of the Central Plains under the Dragon Throne? Chen Xing had said this in a very serious manner, but Sima Yao just smiled. You really are a great scholar, you managed to shut the mouths of those prominent families' younger generations during the light intellectual conversation, your reputation doesn't lie. But, Chen Zianshen, even if Zhen wants to treat the Hus as Zhen's people, the Han people in Jiangnan, would they do the same? Xiang Shu carelessly said, so you all just made a ruckus, failed to recapture the Central Plains, and now have become fish on the table. Sima Yao said, the great Chan Yu is exaggerating. I've actually thought about this question more than once. If during my lifetime I got away only through sheer luck, how could I face you outsiders? Xiang Shu looked at Sima Yao, but there was no trace of anger in it at all, just because his identity was now different. Previously, when he was still the great Chan Yu, every time he heard about the dispute between 2 races, even if he didn't start teaching them a lesson, in no way would he let them have an easy time. According to what Zhen has seen so far, Sima Yao said, the place where people come from is the place they will return to. Your clansmen will still return to you, because the Great Wall is their boundary. Let's stop talking about this. The road ahead is full of hardships, and Zhen still doesn't know what path to choose in the future. Saying so, he turned around and said to Chen Xing, Zhen understands what Chen Zianshen means, and Zhen will seriously take it into consideration. You want to go to Luoyang and need Zhen's help to do so, but Zhen is also having his own difficulties. However, considering the exorcist's feat in pacifying the chaos in Kuiji, Zhen will try his best to assist and show you my great Jin's sincerity. After all, Zhen and Fujian are not the same, we take care of our own people. Chen Zianchen, as long as you have a chance, Zhen wishes you to also remember your own people. With that, Sima Yao spoke once again, if the information Zhen has received is to be believed, the great Chanyu is half Han like us. Xiang Shu didn't reply. Chen Xing knew that at this point, it was equivalent to everyone spreading the news out, so he just said, maybe we will still have a chance to carefully talk about the matter of Hu and Han after we've pacified the drought fiend problem, but for now, we really shouldn't dwell on ethnic differences. Yes, what Chen Zianchen said is very true, indeed, very great. Sima Yao nodded, and Chen Xing knew that this meant he was sending them off. However, just as he was about to ask to withdraw, that diviner named Pu Yang said, Chen Zianchen, please stay for a moment. This humble one has one thing I want to confirm with Chen Zianchen. Chen Xing raised his eyebrows. Pu Yang hesitated for a while before asking, can Xian Sheng divine one's fate? A little bit, Chen Xing said, I've learned to look at the natal chart, why? Pu Yang said, could Chen Zianchen please read about His Majesty's personal fortune and the country's fate? This is actually possible ba. Sima Yao smiled as he said so. Chen Xing observed Pu Yang's expression, it indeed looked like he had asked on behalf of himself, so Chen Xing just replied, yes, but about His Majesty's birth date, characters and birth star, it's really not good to reveal it to people on your own accord, is it? Chen Xing actually didn't want to have anything to do with this thing. A moment ago they were just talking about how to make people die a sudden death, so if the emperor gave him his birth date and some unexpected accident happened one day, wouldn't he be looking for trouble for himself? There's no harm. Pu Yang fetched a yellow paper and said, I've prepared it. I only want to show Chen Zianchen some part of it. Chen Xing thought in his heart, you've prepared it, so why did you tell me it belonged to His Majesty? If you had casually just said a person, I also wouldn't have suspected a thing, so why did you mention the monarch of the country's life, Sima Yao's personal fortune, and also the country's fate? Thinking that, he took the paper and looked at it. Seeing that the paper was just a part of the natal chart, Chen Xing just looked at it and could barely hide the shock in his eyes. Pu Yang said, I've looked at it once, 3 years ago. But this humble one has little talent and shallow understanding. Now that I've met an expert, I wish to ask for a bit of advice or two, so I can feel at ease. Oh! Chen Xing looked up from the paper, exchanged a meaningful glance with Pu Yang, and all of a sudden, he understood. According to what was shown in the natal chart on the yellow paper, Sima Yao wouldn't live beyond the age of 40. He would die an unnatural death because of his own arrogance in his 30s. From what this partial natal chart revealed, Sima Yao would be able to live for around a decade to come, but he also could only live for around a decade more. With all due respect, Your Majesty, this year, your Chen Xing asked. Sima Yao was 2 years younger than Xiang Shu and just turned 20. He smiled and replied, just in time for the coming-of-age ceremony. Chen Xing thought that Pu Yang must have not told Sima Yao about this matter yet. Probably, when he had first looked at the natal chart, Pu Yang had also been in quite a shock, and so, to confirm the truth, he gave it to Chen Xing. Then, in order to prevent Chen Xing from bluntly speaking once he had looked at the natal chart, he informed him in advance that this was Sima Yao's fate so he wouldn't say it out loud. Your Majesty, be careful, don't be too arrogant and willful, Chen Xing replied after he had finished looking. Although it is not appropriate for me to say this, but as long as Your Majesty acts magnanimously, in this life, there won't be too much disaster. Sima Yao smiled at Pu Yang and said, it's actually the same as what the state teacher has told Zhen. Pu Yang nodded, and from the words, he deducted that Chen Xing had also seen what he had seen, and he said nothing more. Chen Xing asked to withdraw, but Feng Qunjun said, "If this commoner may be so bold, this commoner wishes to ask for a favor, requesting your majesty to bestow a marriage." Oh! Sima Yao had clearly heard about it from Xie Dayun and asked, "That girl from the Gu family? It shall be done." Feng Qunjun actually didn't expect for it to go this smoothly. His tone relaxed at once, and he hurriedly kowtowed and thanked Sima Yao for his kindness in bestowing a marriage. As a prominent family in Jiangnan, the Gu family had always looked down on the Feng family who had money but no ranked officials. But now, with the imperial edict, Feng Qunjun could propose marriage to the Gu family. Since the royal family still owed the Zifeng Bank 700,000 tael, they must also give him some face. Sima Yao said to Chen Xing again, "Chen Tianqi, do you need Zhen to bestow a marriage?" Chen Xing, ah. Sima Yao switched from calling him Chen Xianchen to Chen Tianqi, and it sounded a bit more intimate. He laughed again and said, "If you're willing to consider Zhen's proposal carefully, Zhen can actually consider recognizing you as my blood brother. After that, the prince of my great Jin should be on an equal footing with the great Chanyu." When he heard this, Chen Xing immediately thought of Fujian and couldn't help but say, "Why on earth do you all like to arrange marriages for me so much? This is already the second time an emperor wants to act as my matchmaker." Xiang Shu still didn't understand at first, he just gave a blank stare and then his expression morphed into something extremely strange. Sima Yao burst into laughter. Chen Xing always didn't treat Sima Yao the same as how he treated Fujian, and so, he seriously said, "I'm going back. Study well about the idea of taking Fujian's head from 1,000 li away. Your Majesty, asking permission to withdraw." When they came out of the Taishu Palace, Feng Qunjun was still leaning against the wall and couldn't help laughing. Chen Xing gritted his teeth and said, "Stop laughing." Feng Qunjun said, "I'm going to tell Qing'er this good news." As soon as Feng Qunjun left, the atmosphere between Chen Xing and Xiang Shu grew awkward. Chen Xing talked to himself, "How come not one but two people all like to comment on such boring things so much? Our emperor is unreliable, making you laugh when you meet him." He meant that if I could kill Fujian, Chen Xing seriously said, he would grant me a title of prince with different surname. Bestowing marriage is just an excuse, you don't, and you're also no longer the great Chanyu. Although Han people get married by paying particular attention to the social status of both families, it's just AI, what am I talking about? Xiang Shu's handsome face had actually turned slightly red. He didn't move his head and wanted to change the subject, but Chen Xing then said, "Where's Xiao Shan?" Xiao Shan. Xiang Shu, however, had already turned away. Chen Xing looked at Xiang Shu's back figure and all of a sudden, his heart leaped for no reason. Just when he was about to call out to him, Feng Qunjun, who had turned around and returned, patted Chen Xing on the shoulder and said to him, "Tianqi, I suddenly remember, tomorrow is the autumn deity, do you have time?" Chen Xing turned around, and Feng Qunjun continued, "If you're free tomorrow, Xiangdi wants to look for you too, talk alone." Chen Xing thought for a moment and said, "I'm not sure yet. If I can get away tomorrow, I'll see you at your house." Feng Qunjun cheerfully said, "Okay, I'll wait for you until ready." Chen Xing said goodbye to Feng Qunjun and quickly chased after Xiang Shu. He asked, "Where are you going?" Xiang Shu plucked the begonia on his lapel and held it in his hands. His slender fingers fiddled around with the flower branch, causing many petals to be shaken off and flutter in the air. He answered without thinking too much, "Don't you want to look for Xiao Shan? This way." Xiang Shu took Chen Xing through the imperial garden and to the training field. He saw that Xie Dayun had changed into a clean martial garb and was holding a sword with both hands. She was practicing martial arts with Xiao Shan, who was using a pair of wooden claws. The imperial guards tightly encircled them, and Chen Xing and Xiang Shu watched from the outside. Xie Dayun waved her sword, but Xiao Shan was calm and composed. In one move, he knocked away Xie Dayun's sword, making the imperial guards loudly cheer. Xie Dayun picked up her long sword. She hadn't given up and said in anger, "Again." Xiao Shan impatiently said, "You're no match for me. You still want to try?" That arrogant look of his was practically 10 out of 10, the same as Xiang Shu. Chen Xing thought, "You both really need to be taught some lessons." Xiao Shan's combat skills are very mixed, Xiang Shu casually said. "They're all unorthodox." Chen Xing watched for a while before saying, "Xiang Shu, actually, I've been wondering, how can you be so strong?" Xiang Shu, in a rare serious tone, said, "Some people were born suitable to read and produce literary works, while some were born with innate talents to learn martial arts. Is this hard to comprehend?" Chen Xing always felt that Xiang Shu was sometimes too strong for a mortal being. It might be because of his excellent martial arts that he sometimes became a little irritable, or, it might also be because his innate character was a little aggressive and bad-tempered that he could almost reach the pinnacle of martial arts. "I'll accompany you to practice," Xiang Shu said in a clear tone. Xiao Shan was hugging his arms, and when he saw Xiang Shu came over, he subconsciously backed down a few steps. He saw that Xiang Shu was holding the begonia in his hand and also didn't carry any weapons. He faced Xiao Shan with one hand behind his body and the other hand holding the flower branch. The onlookers exploded in an instant. Chen Xing had heard of many kinds of supreme martial arts, with flying flowers and plucked leaves that could hurt people, but he hadn't truly seen it before. This begonia flower would fall apart with just one touch, so how to strike with it? Moreover, the opponent was Xiao Shan. Chen Zian Chen. While Xiang Shu and Xiao Shan were fighting, someone called Chen Xing from behind and politely said, "Could I borrow a bit of your time to talk?" Chen Xing thought in his heart, "Couldn't you wait until the fight is finished before calling out to me?" When he turned around, he discovered that it was Pu Yang. He had no alternative but to follow him to the side of the training field. Pu Yang took out a small wooden tile and with both hands, he respectfully handed it over to Chen Xing. Chen Xing recognized that as the Great Han's Exorcism Department's waste token. He was startled as he said, You're also an exorcist." Pu Yang said, "To be precise, I can't be counted as one." This humble one's ancestor was the Great Han's Exorcism Department's bookkeeper. Chen Xing recalled that hundreds of years ago, when the Exorcism Department was at its peak, gatekeepers, errand runners, and bookkeepers all had their own duties. While the exorcists were out all over the places subduing yaos, these people stayed in the department to take care of things. They were similar to civil servants in the army. To meet a later generation of that exorcism department, Chen Xing felt extremely close to him and saluted Pu Yang. The salute was hurriedly returned by Pu Yang once more. "I didn't expect that hundreds of years later, I would still be able to see a great exorcist, and the era of silence of all magic might also be over soon," Pu Yang sighed. Chen Xing helplessly said, "I can't say for sure, after all, the Dinghai pearls' whereabouts are still very much unknown." Pu Yang said, "The heart lamp will only reappear when the devil Qi wreaks havoc in the divine land. Your appearance shows that we're certainly going to face the end game. It's almost the time for the mana of the world to recover." Back then, Chen Xing's Shifu had also said the same thing. Bailey Lun had also been one of the descendants of the exorcism department. Unexpectedly, even after hundreds of years had passed, there were really still a lot of people from later generations that had connections to the exorcism department in Jiangnan. Chen Xing asked again, "Your family back then was the exorcism department's bookkeeper? Do you have any information?" Pu Yang seriously said, "To be precise, this humble one's sect was the one who came out to make a living for the exorcism department after the silence of all magic. At that time, because of his position in the department, Shizu read quite a lot about natal charts, as well as ancient texts regarding astrology and one's fate. He then made a living by divining people's fate." Chen Xing knew that he was most likely here because of Sima Yao, so he said, regarding His Majesty's natal chart. I saw the same result as you, Pu Xianchen. Pu Yang pondered over for a while, then asked, I don't know whether you, a great exorcist, could alter someone's fate? This child, Sima Yao, I watched him grow up. I really can't bear it. Chen Xing muttered to himself for a moment and couldn't help but want to look at Xiang Shu, dividing his attention. He then said, Pu Darren, the truth is, since this thing is decreed by fate, naturally, it's impossible to alter. There's really nothing I can do to help. Pu Yang seemed to have expected this answer because when he heard what Chen Xing had said, he didn't look too disappointed. In the end, he just sighed and said, I will miss him. Chen Xing said in a low voice, to tell you the truth, I had once looked for a way to alter my fate too. I can only say that in this world, there are many things that can be changed, but this is the only thing that can't be altered. Otherwise, I would be the first one who wishes for a way to alter my fate. Pu Yang unexpectedly asked, why is that? Chen Xing's tongue had slipped, but since he had already said it, he didn't want to hide it from him, so he answered, I also don't have much time left and can only live for a few more years. Anyway, you understand. Xiang Shu and Xiao Shan both abruptly stopped moving where they stood on the field. Xiao Shan's ears perked up. Xiao Shan seemed a bit absent-minded, but Xiang Shu just readied the begonia horizontally and said, continue, don't get distracted. Xiao Shan quickly regained his bearings. He shook his claws and rushed towards Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu, however, only exerted little force and touched Xiao Shan, leaving the flower branch in his hand unguarded. Once he saw this opportunity, Xiao Shan pounced into the air only to stumble, and soon afterwards, the whole audience was in a full uproar. Xiang Shu looked far to the side of the field, but Chen Xing had long gone to who knows where. The crowd was blocking his views. Still want to fight? Xiang Shu asked. Xiao Shan was angry. He pointed at Xiang Shu and said, I'll defeat you sooner or later. Xiang Shu said in an indifferent tone, I'm waiting. Everyone had started to disperse by the time Chen Xing heard the cheers and applause. Pu Yang then said, if there's anything you need help with, please let me know at any time. Saying so, he bowed again. Chen Xing said, about His Majesty, I must trouble you. Pu Yang answered, we're all family, it's no trouble. I'll spare no effort to convince him. Oh right, tomorrow is the autumn deity, I wonder if Chen Xianchen has any plans. Chen Xing said, what do you need of me? Pu Yang said, His Majesty wishes to chat with you alone. If you have no plans, you can accompany him and Her Majesty to Zhongshan to offer sacrifice to the gods. But we also won't force you to, we'll wait for you in the palace until Weishi. After that, the royal carriage will set off. Chen Xing nodded. Okay, if I'm going, I'll come ahead of time. After Pu Yang left, Xiang Shu and Xiao Shan came back. Xiao Shan said, Chen Xing, are you free tomorrow? Chen Xing said in his heart, why do you all like to invite me out alone so much? Then he said, you also want to go to the Autumn Deity Festival. Xiao Shan said, you want to take me to the festival? Chen Xing hesitated. That. I'll CBA? If by Weishi I haven't come, you don't have to wait for me. Xiao Shan looked as if he was slightly unwilling, but after losing to Xiang Shu, he also didn't feel good enough to insist, so he just nodded his head. By the time they returned to the Xie residence, Xian had also come back. When everyone had dinner, Chen Xing looked at Xiang Shu from time to time. He felt that after they had returned from the palace today, Xiang Shu had become a little absent-minded. Everyone had asked him out to the festival, Xiang Shu was the only one who hadn't said anything about it, nor did he give any hint about going out to the festival together tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 17th of the 8th lunar month, Xian said to Chen Xing. 17th of the 8th lunar month. Chen Xing suddenly remembered, 17th of the 8th lunar month, isn't that my birthday? This year's autumn deity is very timely. You don't have anything you want to say? Chen Xing suddenly asked Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu glanced at Chen Xing with an inexplicable look. Xian asked, how was the audience with His Majesty today? Chen Xing picked out some important points and conveyed it. Xiang Shu already knew all about it, so he half listened before impatiently getting up and saying, I'm leaving. Xian sighed a few times and said, the matter of being sent in a delegation, I'll think of an even better way. I'll give you the result after the Autumn Society, so don't rush to go out on your journey. Chen Xing gave out an N sound. Xian stretched his body and said again, Little Shidi, tomorrow is the Autumn Deity Festival, did you make plans already? Chen Xing. Xian said, if you have some free time, maybe we can talk alone? I want to take you somewhere. Chen Xing, can't you all just make an appointment together? Why does everyone insist on the autumn deity? Xian laughed. Ah? Who else? Fusheng just casually asked, if you don't come, in the afternoon, after offering sacrifice to the gods, I'll return home and accompany my daughter-in-law. Chen Xing had to answer, if I'm coming, I'll look for you by Weishi. After agreeing, Xian cheerfully nodded, and Chen Xing returned to his room. He saw that Sima Yao had sent people to send him new clothes and several precious tools. It must have been thank you gifts for solving the problem in Kuiji. Chen Xing felt extremely tired and lay down to sleep, but his mind was full of Xiang Shu during the day. Chen Xing was holding the quilt, slightly depressed. He wanted to get up and have a talk with Xiang Shu, but talk about what? It was always the same, and they also met every day, having light talks with no meaning. Chen Xing shouted, I'm going crazy. These days, he'd thought of his first meeting with Xiang Shu. Going to Chang'an, to Qi Le Chuan, then to Jiangnan, Chen Xing had already become more and more aware of his unclear, ambiguous feeling for Xiang Shu, as well as the reason he had this constant urge that made him just can't help but want to annoy Xiang Shu. On ordinary days, Xiang Shu was basically unwilling to have a nice talk with him at all, only when they were quarreling did Chen Xing clearly feel that this guy really cared about him. I seem to like him. Chen Xing, holding the quilt, sat up and fidgeted a lot, internally saying, what should I do? I have to get it under control. No, I have to forget about it, Chen Xing told himself. After tomorrow, I'll only have 2 years left to live, what can I even do? Moreover, Xiang Shu also won't care about UBA. Don't imagine your affection will be returned. When he woke up the next day, the sun had already risen as high as 3 poles. Chen Xing changed to his new clothes in front of the mirror. It was the most popular style in Jiangnan, flower gown fluttering tail. Chen Xing carefully looked at himself in the mirror and thought, I'm also very refined and elegant, ma. When he was about to go out, he realized the problem once again. Feng Yunjun, Xiao Shan, Sima Yao and Xian had all asked him out at the same time, and he still didn't know what to think about Xiang Shu. The festival day had arrived, the world outside was full of cheerful atmosphere, and the fragrance of flowers filled the air. Who should I spend the festival with? Chen Xing was actually slightly uncertain. He only wanted to look for Xiang Shu, but Xiang Shu clearly didn't say anything yesterday. Chen Xing thought about it over and over again, and there was a war between men and heaven in his heart. On one hand, he didn't want to think about it, but on the other hand, he couldn't help but walk towards the direction of Xiang Shu's room. End chapter. Dinghai Fusheng Records. End chapter. Chapter 66. Autumn Deity. What are you doing? Chen Xing stuck his head out to peek inside the room and saw that Xiang Shu had just finished changing his clothes. On his feet were a pair of leather clogs, but the wooden parts were replaced by leather. It made the pair look fragile, and just like wooden clogs, each shoe had 2 strands of rope to fix it in place. Xiang Shu was wearing a martial robe with 2 layers, lined and unlined, and martial trousers that reached to his ankle. The leather clogs he wore made him pretty much seem barefoot. He looked very cool and good looking. Going out, Xiang Shu said, and relaxing. Chen Xing asked, alone? Xiang Shu answered, got a problem. Chen Xing took the initiative to say, I want to go with you. Xiang Shu said, there are so many people inviting you out today, why don't you go and meet the emperor? Chen Xing said in his heart, how did you even know Sima Yao had asked to see me? He then replied, not going. Xiang Shu, how about Feng Qianjun? Xiao Shan. Chen Xing, why are you suddenly so wordy? Anyway, I'm leaving. You go ba. Xiang Shu had no broadsword on his back, he was empty-handed. He fixed his cuff before turning around and leaving the room. Chen Xing followed him from behind at a distance that was neither too close nor too far. Xiang Shu walked very slowly today, it was contrary to the usual large strides that made Chen Xing out of breath when chasing after him. They went out to the Wei lane where the Xie residence was located. Golden paper cut in the shape of small humans and little horses were hung in the front of the door of every household, and red strips of cloth were tied among the maple trees. Maple leaves fluttered around the city of Jiankong, and it was a clear autumn day. Children were also flying kites, it immediately made everyone feel happy and relaxed. An arranged table piled up with all kinds of glutinous rice, deep-fried foods, and flour pastries was also set up outside each of the house. All the food was free to be eaten by passers-by. Xiang Shu was walking neither too quick nor too slow, but then, he suddenly stopped and asked Chen Xing, are those to be eaten by people, or to be used to worship the gods? Xiang Shu had finally started a conversation with Chen Xing, and the two now walked side by side. Chen Xing then said, it's been used to worship the gods already. After being used to worship the gods, they were set out to be eaten by people. Do you want to try it? I'll get you one. No, Xiang Shu said. I don't eat sweets. Chen Xing ate one himself, and then gave another to Xiang Shu again. This time, the sweet-scented osmanthus was just right, the cake was clear and translucent. Xiang Shu frowned. Children's food. Yet, facing the pastry offered by Chen Xing, he turned his head away to avoid his gaze, then ate it in one bite. Chen Xing said, where do you want to go? Don't want to go anywhere, Xiang Shu casually said. Just strolling around. It's Weishi, why haven't you gone back? Chen Xing studied Xiang Shu's tone and said, I want to celebrate the festival together with you. Got a problem with that? Xiang Shu. When the two people arrived at the market, they saw that today's market was bustling with noise and excitement. It was not a show of extravagance at all to say it was comparable to the Autumn Close Festival in Chi-Le Chuan. Jiankong scholars and common people all went out, those who were selling kites, and those looking for makeup were looking for makeup. Chen Xing immediately became curious and went over to see the sweets vendor, while Xiang Shu watched from the side with a cold look on his face. Next to the sweets vendor, there were shops selling porcelain cups, as well as salvaged goods from the north and south, dried goods, wooden boxes, and carvings. Chen Xing looked at them one by one, then scrutinized the one who sold paintings. You want to buy anything? Chen Xing said towards Xiang Shu, who was behind him. Xiang Shu originally thought that Chen Xing was going to buy something and had intended to fish out some money from his pocket. When he saw Chen Xing was holding a wine bottle and looking at it carefully, he said, no. Chen Xing said, you want to try this wine? Xiang Shu replied, I don't want to drink. Chen Xing sized Xiang Shu up. Xiang Shu didn't talk and was also this cold and indifferent while window shopping. He thought to himself, how can you be so bored? The autumn deity is so interesting, you tell me, how can you be so bored in this kind of hustle and bustle of maple leaves? What do you think of Jiangnan? Chen Xing asked. Boring, Xiang Shu replied. Chen Xing said, but you still came. Xiang Shu answered with another question, wasn't it you who wanted to come? Chen Xing's words were thus countered. He knew that at this moment, Xiang Shu surely thought Jiankong was really interesting. He took a rattle drum from the roadside vendor, rattled it a few times, shook it in front of Xiang Shu's face, then put it back, internally saying, you just don't want to show your amazed and interested expressions, to avoid me becoming arrogant and saying that Jiankong is better than Qi Le Chuan. Xiang Shu saw the rattle drum and slightly frowned. Chen Xing knew he thought about the zheng drum. Suddenly, Chen Xing said, that day, I heard you called me singer. Xiang Shu indifferently said, when? Chen Xing, that night at Kuiji. Thinking about Wu Qi and that couple, Chen Xing felt a little lost again. Xiang Shu saw the frustrated look on Chen Xing's face and said, I didn't call you that. Chen Xing, I heard you. But, how did you know my childhood name was Singer? Only my parents and my shifu ever called me that. Even Yuan Xin also didn't call me that back then. Xiang Shu, oh? That was how your shifu usually called you? Gu Wang didn't know. Chen Xing, don't play dumb. Yi? What's that? Xiang Shu followed Chen Xing's line of sight, and saw that on the street, many young men and women were holding hands, and each of them was wearing a red rope on their wrist. A piece of shell carved out of a shellfish was attached to the string. The shells were of different shapes, big and small, but they all formed pairs. Xiang Shu asked a passerby, where did the thing in your hand come from? The girl smiled at Xiang Shu and said, another person gave it to me. Chen Xing. Everyone seems to be wearing this bracelet today, is it to ward off evil spirits? Chen Xing observed for a moment and again saw the red strings on the joined hands of two handsome young men that were looking for inkstone in front of the stall. The red bracelets tied on both of their wrists had shells on them. This is a gift too? Looks very pretty, Chen Xing thought out loud. Xiang Shu moved towards that person and asked, where did you both get the shells? The two men turned and looked at Xiang Shu and Chen Xing. One of those men was actually Xie Shi, who smiled and said, yo, turned out it's you guys. A gift from someone. The other young man lifted up his hand and showed it to Chen Xing. Chen Xing, very pretty ah, why are people wearing it on the autumn deity? Xie Shi silently smiled, his face flushing red. He then said, you have it given to you. Saying so, he pulled along that young man, turned around and walked away while waving his hand. Chen Xing. Xiang Shu shrugged, unable to pursue the matter. Without any better option, Chen Xing went through the market. The side of Huai River was filled with maple leaves, and there were also boatmen rowing their boats for young men and women. Many people bought food and sat under the bridge to eat, seemingly waiting for something. In the distance, a stage was set up by the river. People there started to perform an opera, narrating Haijin Yu, the story about Lu Xiu and Yin Liwa. If I were to be an official, I wanted to be as Haijin Yu, if I were to marry, I wanted to marry Yin Liwa. Chen Xing smiled. Xiang Shu stood on the riverside with fewer people and watched the faraway stage with the maple leaves falling around in between. Chen Xing explained the story of Lu Xiu and Yin Liwa to Xiang Shu, and the two sat down by the river, listening for a while. As he spoke, Chen Xing again discovered that Xiang Shu was a bit absent-minded. It made him think that Xiang Shu probably didn't have much interest in these things. He talked with so much excitement every time, but Xiang Shu, for the most part, didn't pay him any attention and only listened to him out of politeness, so Chen Xing just had to drop the subject. Why did you stop talking? Xiang Shu was baffled. I forgot, Chen Xing said with little interest. A moment later, he changed the subject and asked again, you think that Murong Chong? Xiang Shu became really impatient this time. Can you not mention the matter regarding the exorcists? Today, I went out to the festival because I wanted to relax. Chen Xing could only say, "Okay ba. Xiang Shu, do you have another thing in your mind other than those matters?" Chen Xing could only say, "Nothing." So the boring person is actually me. The two were both silent for a while, then Chen Xing gave in and smiled. "Have anything to eat?" Chen Xing said, "We should have brought some food today." Xiang Shu only got up and left without saying any word. Chen Xing assumed that he was going to buy hot food and so, he didn't follow. After a moment, he suddenly saw that there was a 5-stringed qin, as well as a cushion, placed leisurely under a maple tree. The owner had gone to who knows where, maybe to watch the show. So, he took the qin and put it on his knee to test the sound and found that it was actually a priceless guqin. Really rich. Chen Xing thought, this some 100 liangs of silver guqin was just left lying on the ground. And so, he plucked the strings. He produced a string of notes in a very smooth manner, similar to moving clouds and streaming water. Xiang Shu bought lotus leaf steamed buns and shaiju in a restaurant, and when he returned to the bridge by the river, he suddenly heard a familiar tune. It was the one he had played at the top of Karakoram the other day, when he bid farewell to the people of the ancient Cle covenant, the one he played using his Qiang flute, the Fusheng melody. He only heard that the sound of the guqin was intermittent, as if the player couldn't remember clearly the tonal shift and the score. But after modifying the keys several times, it became much gentler than the sonorous Qiang flute. Xiang Shu. From the bridge where Xiang Shu stood, he saw that in the distance, Chen Xing was sitting at the river bank. He had a guqin on his lap, and maple leaves fluttered around him. He was plucking the guqin in a serious manner. It made him really think that this was indeed a beautiful view. After a while, the Fusheng melody ended. Xiang Shu turned and got off the bridge, only to hear a tune he had never heard before coming from under the maple forest by the river. At the beginning, the tune was full of solitude and loneliness, the sound was few and far between. But then, the string was strummed in an urgent manner, round after round, just like the sound of silver pearls bursting everywhere in the sky, or heavy hammers hitting the ground. The guqin sound was hastened. In a split second, a gust of wind blew, and together with the maple leaves that were all over the sky, they opened up a new panorama, misty waters extending into the distance, vast and boundless mountain ranges, migratory birds crossing the south and returning to the north. The guqin sound was gentle, but laced into that was a tune that revealed the grandeur of mountains and sea. Xiang Shu was actually slightly fascinated for a while. When Chen Xing perceived that he was behind him, he stopped playing the qin and turned around, saying, "Have you bought anything? I'm starving to death." "What song is that?" Xiang Shu asked. "Come way home," Chen Xing said, "Tao Qian's piece. I don't know whether he's here today." "What have you bought? Didn't you say you don't drink?" "Drink only a bit," Xiang Shu said. "You get drunk as soon as you drink." At this time, the owner of the qin came back. Turned out it was Wang Zizi who had been dragged down by his family. Both sides exchanged courtesies and talked pleasantries. Xiang Shu had that very impatient look on his face, and after eating, Chen Xing dragged him away and left. "You like that melody?" Xiang Shu suddenly asked. "It's very pleasant to listen to," Chen Xing said, "though only when you played it on your Qiang flute." "How did you learn to play the flute?" "I've been wanting to ask." Xiang Shu said, "My father taught me. I'll teach you when I have time, ba. You can play the zither." Xiang Shu was also a bit surprised that Chen Xing could actually play the qin, but this surprise must have been just like when Chen Xing found out that Xiang Shu could actually play the Qiang flute. It was as if their common understanding of each other was only limited to exorcists and protectors, and nothing more. "My zither skill is so out of it," Chen Xing said with a smile. "Very bad, I didn't study hard at that time." When the two of them crossed the bridge, Chen Xing said, "Want to fly a kite?" "I'll accompany you if you want to fly it," Xiang Shu said without thinking. Chen Xing felt dull again. "Forget it. Xiang Shu looked around for a kite after they had crossed the bridge, but Chen Xing stopped him from buying it. To the north bank of the Huai River, was another, bigger market. This market was unlike the one outside Wuyi Lane, where they sold necessities for aristocratic families, rather, it was designed for common people. Xiang Shu stopped and looked at the residences along the street by the river. It was full of wine shops and storefronts. Wait, isn't that the street that Dongzhi Bank gave to you? Chen Xing remembered. Xiang Shu said. It's all mine now. At this moment, Chen Xing discovered that Xiang Shu had already become a big money bag of Jiankong. He said, "What do you want to do?" "Nothing," Xiang Shu said. "I originally came here today just to look at the reopening of businesses after the repairs, the rest can be put off until later." "Later?" Chen Xing said with a smile. "You want to live here?" Xiang Shu looked at Chen Xing and said nothing. Chen Xing had wanted to say who said Jiangnan was boring a moment ago. But on second thought, Xiang Shu was also half Han, and ever since they had visited Kuiji, they had found out about his family's origins. Jiangnan was his hometown as well, so why couldn't he live here? "Chen Xing, will you invite me to your house?" Xiang Shu said, "If you are willing." When the two people walked through the long street, they suddenly saw many peddlers on the roadside lifting their bamboo poles. Hung on the poles were those matching shells of unknown origins that Chen Xing had seen before. "Ah, it's this thing." Chen Xing said, "How much? Why is everyone wearing them?" The peddler said with a positive look, 2 strings? You can give it to a girl or your lover." Chen Xing. No wonder. Everyone said it was a gift. Chen Xing had already held 1 string in his hand, he couldn't just return it. However, if he did buy it, who would he give it to? Besides, he didn't have any money with him. The peddler said again, "This is called moonshell, and it can only be found at the seashore on the night of the full moon." "Sir, customers are both from the north? On the deity's days, we buy and send them to our beloved, it's a matching pair." "Oh, okay." Chen Xing thought for a moment. Holding that red string, he subconsciously glanced at Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu shrugged and gave the peddler a few pieces of silver. The peddler wanted to give the change, but Xiang Shu said, "Keep the change, I'll take 2 strings." Chen Xing's heart was beating crazily all of a sudden. He held one of the bracelets, which happened to be part of a pair with the one Xiang Shu had. When the peddler received the money, he said in high spirits, "Many thanks, sirs. May your relationship last forever." Is he going to give it to me? Chen Xing could only think that happiness came too fast and too sudden, and his mind burst with dizziness. However, he only saw that Xiang Shu, who was walking ahead of him, glanced back at him. "Xiang Shu." Chen Xing looked at the red bracelet in his hand, he was momentarily at a loss before following behind Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu put away that red string and stuffed it into the chest of his robe. Chen Xing was slightly baffled, holding that red string as they went back to the bridge, but from the beginning until the end, Xiang Shu never gave that shell bracelet to him. After a while, Chen Xing also put away that bracelet. "Not wearing it?" Xiang Shu said. "Forget it," Chen Xing said with a smile. The two were standing on the bridge as they watched the river water flow when Chen Xing said, "Xiang Shu, who do you want to give it to?" Xiang Shu didn't answer. Chen Xing said, "Keep it for now, ba. Later, you can give it to the person you like." Xiang Shu absent-mindedly made an N sound. The maple leaves on the river flowed along the stream. Chen Xing said, "What sort of person do you want to be with in the future?" Xiang Shu raised his head, watching the color of the sky, but didn't answer. He said, "It's getting dark, let's go back." Chen Xing knew that Xiang Shu wouldn't talk if he didn't want to discuss something. If he kept pursuing this subject, it would only make things unpleasant. He then said, "Wait, what's on that side?" The color of the sky slowly turned dark. More and more people flocked to the river, and there were many water lanterns floating on the surface of the water. Chen Xing said, "I'm going to take a look at what they're doing, after that, I'll go back." Xiang Shu followed Chen Xing off the bridge. After nightfall, the market gradually closed down. All the people of Jiankong came to both banks of the Huai River, and there were many stalls reopening by each side, selling paper lanterns. Chen Xing asked around and then knew that after the disaster of Yongjia, on the night of autumn deity, there was an unwritten tradition of placing a water lantern on the Huai River to mourn one's relatives. "I'll also buy one ba," Chen Xing said, "because so many have died because of me." Xiang Shu said, "Then you have to buy every water lantern at every stall." Chen Xing sighed. Yes. Xiang Shu had meant to mock Chen Xing, he didn't expect him not to catch it. He couldn't help but say, "Even until now, you still blame yourself." Chen Xing smiled. "I get it, but I can't let it go ah." Xiang Shu could only buy all of the lanterns from the stall, borrowed a lighter to light a candle, then ignite the lanterns for Chen Xing on the shore, which Chen Xing put down one by one, the coachman and the people of Chang'an, the Akele king and consort, the Xian News who had died at Che Lufeng's hands, the Hus of Qi Le Chuan, Wu Qi and Zheng Lun of Kuiji. "Do you want to light one for Che Lufeng?" Chen Xing asked. Xiang Shu, "Light one for your family first." Thus, Chen Xing took it and bent down, putting the final lantern on the water surface. When he looked up, he suddenly saw Feng Qianjun and Gu Qing standing not far away, also bending down to put down the lantern. Xiang Shu whistled towards the distance. They discovered that Xiao Shan was also there too, sitting on the boat, with Xie Dayun and another man rowing the boat under the bridge. Xiao Shan knelt on the bow and also put down a lantern, which they assumed was for Liu Ying. "They're over there." Chen Xing motioned for Xiang Shu to look. Xiang Shu made an N sound, and behind Chen Xing, he placed the last lantern, the one in his hands, down into the river. Chen Xing caught a sight of someone else on the other side of the bank waving at them. At first, he didn't recognize that person, however, when the man put the lantern close to his face, the light illuminated it. That was Bai Hun. Bai Hun was unexpectedly in Jiankong too. Then, Chen Xing also waved his hand at him, then said to Xiang Shu, "Remember him?" "I remember," Xiang Shu faintly said. "The military officer that guards Kuiji, his lover is dead." Chen Xing earnestly said, "Xiang Shu, you always feel that I live as if I don't have a sense of self, and also keep telling me not to use the heart lamp for fear that I will die. I also often say a lot of things, but I have no choice. I can only accept what heaven has arranged for me, and maybe I still sometimes feel unreconciled with this ba. But you see, at this moment." Bai Hun placed down the water lantern. Chen Xing couldn't help raising his hands, and in them, the heart lamp emitted a brilliant light. For a moment, everyone by both sides of the river all looked at him. Chen Xing quietly gazed at them, at the people of the divine land, who were brimming with happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy, and he was also no different from those people. He slowly raised his right hand and placed it in front of him, and using one hand, he performed a magic trick for everyone, which was actually that lamp trick he had learned from a young age. It was igniting the lamp to shine gloriously across the four plains, dispelling the darkness and illuminating all places, and meant to show that in this dark night, he would never stop giving them the strength to support their belief. His hair swayed in the night wind, both of his eyes were closed, and his face was illuminated by the lustrous radiance. "I really think," Chen Xing smiled as he said, "regardless of why and how much I have to pay, seeing them, I am still very willing to do it." Xiao Shan, Feng Qianjun, Gu Qing, Xie Dayun, Bai Hun, and so on, as well as the people on both sides of the river, as if they understood what Chen Xing meant, thousands of people gazed towards the glittering heart lamp. One after another, they followed Chen Xing and made that magic trick gesture of igniting the lamp. Xiang Shu was silent for a moment, but then, alongside the rest, he turned around and faced Chen Xing. His right hand was igniting the lamp, and reflected in his eyes, was Chen Xing bathed in that shining, pure light. The sound of horseshoes sounded. Xian rode his horse, crossed the bridge of the Huai River, and went down to the river bank. Chen Xing and Xiangshu left the riverside, and Bai Hun came over. When he was about to converse with them, Xian stopped his horse by the side and said, "I finally found you. I have news, but I don't know whether it's good or bad news. I want to let you know, little Shidi." Chen Xing was slightly puzzled, but Xian said, "I just got news saying that 3 days ago, Murong Chong and Wang Zi had a clash in Chang'an, and Wang Zi is dead." End chapter.